Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink, and get comfortable because this starts now.
Would leave, and he would ghost me, and I wouldn't speak to him for days, and it would be...
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to, once again, another Real Housewives of Orange County recap. We're going to be talking about the second part of the reunion. This is the final part and the conclusion of season 17. So it begins with Shannon. She's still trying to clear up the comments about CPS, and she's telling Gina that she would never insinuate that her kids would be taken away from her because she's the bad parent or anything of the sort. But if there hadn't been an adult present in this situation, that's kind of what she meant. So you can tell Shannon regrets what she said, but Gina still thinks that Shannon hurt her kids. And then they take a quick break, and it's interesting that during the break, Heather was like whispering little things to Gina's ear, like Shannon never apologizes and stuff like that. But then they play the season package for Shannon, you know, coming up with this new colonic, her storyline, but most importantly and mainly the John relationship of it all. So after they see that, Shannon expresses to Heather how taken aback she is by Heather wanting to bring up her problems on camera, especially because since before the season, like while they were still on break, John had hanged out with Terry and Heather, and they had gone along just fine. So it was confusing that Heather wanted to bring this stuff on camera. Shannon also apologizes to Gina for saying that she owed her boyfriend a huge apology because it was all Heather. Andy says, well, what was Heather saying exactly? And Shannon says Heather was doing all of this dirty talking off camera, which I do believe because yes, Heather was unfairly targeted this season, and yes, Shannon was messy, but let's not pretend that Heather hasn't done this before. So then Shannon starts to cry about this relationship because she went through a lot, which breaks my heart for her because she has been so unlucky in love. Like, it's really sad. This John guy, personally never trusted him just by seeing him on camera, but he looks like he really hurt Shannon because he had actually said on camera that he was ready to take the next steps of the relationship, like, you know, maybe getting engaged or something like that. And a week later, he breaks up with her, and he would ghost her and leave her in paralyzing pain. So then, as Shannon is breaking down, Heather says, do you really think I'm this Machiavellian person behind the scenes trying to say things about your relationship? And Shannon says, I do. And Heather says, please don't get angry at me, but you sometimes get drunk and call people and tell them all your business. Shannon, you know, takes offense to that. And obviously this didn't age well. And then Gina tries to step in and, you know, also say kind of the same thing that Heather is saying. But Shannon says, let me reiterate to you, Gina, I don't like you. Then Emily also tells Shannon that she shouldn't expect her relationship not to be talked about, especially if she's sharing it with many of the people in the group. Then Andy says, well, seems like you have had a lot of conversations with many of the women here, and somehow it all got put on Heather by Tamra. Tamra says that she heard from Emily, and Shannon says, I only heard once about Gina who had mentioned something, so Shannon apologizes again for blaming Gina. So Gina says, then why don't you like me? Well, Shannon doesn't like that Gina was saying that she was drinking too much. So Gina says, well, you know what? It's our job to say how we feel. To which Shannon says, well, it's my job to be Shannon Storm's Beador. But you know what? The fact that a week later, Shannon was driving drunk and had a DUI and she crashed. Thank God she didn't hurt herself or anyone. But I really do think that we were witnessing Shannon's breaking point in this reunion. Shannon says, listen, I've given great TV. I've given great reality TV. I've taken off my shirt when I gained so much weight. She was the first housewife to go really in depth on a marriage infidelity. So Andy asks a question again. Why is Heather the bad guy when Emily was also still talking about her relationship. So Emily says that she, Gina, and Heather had a chat about Shannon, and Shannon says, wow, well, thank you guys for bringing that up in front of production. And Emily says, well, you're not together anymore, are you? And she says, no, I'm not, which, by the way, I've heard that you've been saying that we are. We are not back together. And she starts to cry again because of the demise of this relationship. She was just fighting for her life. Like, remember when Portia was like crying and Phaedra was like, Jesus help her? Like, that's how I was thinking. I was like, Jesus help Shannon in this moment, because she was losing it. I felt so bad. But they bring up that she has been hanging out with John lately, and she says, look, my children have left, so they told me that maybe it's better for me to go with someone that I already know and hang out with them instead of spending my time alone. There's a question that says that if John is so private, why did he date a well-known reality star? And Shannon says, well, that's a great question. I don't know. Then there is a explicit question that says, Tamra is the root of all the drama. And the producers do show some flashbacks of Tamra talking about Shannon's relationship, but Tamra again tries to pin this on Heather. So Heather has to say once again that she never promised not to bring up things about Shannon's relationship, but she had it in her never to say things that were very serious. Like, for example, when Emily brought up that John called her fat. So this was a mess. I mean, you gotta feel bad for Shannon. Like, this lady was clearly in a bad place. But in conclusion, her and John are still friends, and friends with benefits sometimes, which that's problematic, but I really hope Shannon is getting the help that she needs. It's then time to switch over to Emily. They play her season package, which includes some time with her kids, her child becoming a model, trying to fix things with her mom, becoming friends with Tamra, and her feud with Heather this season. So after seeing that, Emily thinks that her relationship with her mom and sister might have something to do with the way she acts. She cries a little bit, and then she says that her daughter has been doing great things, a lot of little modeling things here and there. And her and Tamra are actually pretty good friends. Now, it looks like Shannon might be a little bit jealous about this because she didn't want Emily to be at the Tres Amigas show, which that was funny. But then they ask Heather about Tamra because Heather said some negative things. So Emily says that before the season started, she had a chat with Heather, and Heather said that Tamra was an a-hole. And Heather says to Tamra, well, sometimes you are one. But going back to Emily, the women agree that Emily is a little bit more aggressive with Heather than with the others, and Emily claims that she just has more passion with her. But Emily thinks that the problem is that Heather thinks that Emily's coming from a malicious place and that she has no sense of humor. Like, for example, when they were in that party and Emily said, are you going to brand HD on our foreheads? But Heather thinks that it's rude for Emily to say that she has no sense of humor. And Emily says, well, calling me a mammoth was rude. Heather says that was a joke. So Emily says, oh, so you can call me a snuffleupagus, but when I call you a whale trainer, you get mad and tell people that I should get fired. So apparently, Tamra is saying that Heather told her after being called a whale trainer that she didn't like Emily and that she should be fired. Now Heather claims that's not true, and that in fact Tamra had actually texted very negative things about Emily to Heather, and then she went on Watch What Happens Live the next day and completely changed her opinions. I don't even know, man. Like, between Emily, Tamra, Heather, it was just giving fake. But you know what? They did have some fun throughout the season, so they take a look back at the trip that they took. They talk about some guys' private parts that were shown on a boat, and then some little dirty talk about if they have bony, I don't even know. But they switch over to this whole loser comment storyline. So they show how the rumor came out, which Emily initially said Heather called them losers. Heather had said that Shannon called them losers, but it was actually Tamra. So once they see what happened, they're talking about it, and Tamra gives her side. She says that every time Heather would be asked who should come back to the show, Heather would say Alexis, but she would never say Tamra. So Tamra asked, why don't you say my name? Tamra claims that Heather told her, I only say Alexis' name because she will never come back, and what do you think I'm gonna do with all these losers? Heather claims she never called them losers, so they ask Emily her side, and she says that at BravoCon, Heather told her and Gina that someone was saying very bad things about them, and that apparently Heather swirled her finger and said, but this is in the vault. And again, that's where Emily got confused whether it was Shannon or Tamra. But again, Heather's saying that's not how it happened, and that's taken out of context, and they start going at it. And Emily says, let me finish. It's always the same thing with you. Poor Heather, poor Heather, poor Heather. It got to a point where they were arguing and going back and forth so much, I didn't even know what they were fighting about anymore. So Andy brings it back to Tamra, who was the one that called them losers. And y'all, Tamra told Andy off. Like, she said to his face, Andy, F off. Like, back down, stay out of it. And I was like, wow, I don't like Tamra, but I like that she put Andy on check. But Tamra speaks directly to Heather and says, it hurt my feelings that we sat down and we apologized. But then you went to go tell them that I said all these horrible things about them. And Heather says that, yeah, she screwed up by doing that, but she wished that Tamra would have, went and told her how she was feeling instead of making it into a whole thing. Another thing that was some unseen footage was that Heather told Gina to move away from Emily so she could create her own identity. So they go back and forth about that, which that sounds ridiculous. And they go back to Shannon and Heather's relationship. Heather says to Shannon, to be honest, the other day that you texted me, it meant a lot. And Shannon says, well, Heather, if you want us to have a good friendship, then don't involve these people. Then Tamra says that she loves Heather and starts to cry and says that she's always loved her and wants to move forward. Heather says that she, too, thinks it's been a tough year for everyone and that Tamra is at the best that she's ever been, which is why she was confused why Tamra was so angry. But Tamra, again, as she's crying, says that she was going through a lot and having a hard time with the gym closing, her dog dying, and she didn't know where she was going to fit in with the group. But Heather ends by saying that Tamra is her housewife maker and she's always going to have that affection for her. And it is then the conclusion. Andy reads a tweet that somebody wrote in saying that this cast was perfection, and they all go around saying what they're going to miss from the season, which, this was Jen's first season. Emily loved the fun that the group had. So did Gina and Shannon. They loved the vacations. Heather says that she knows that if things were actually got serious, like, she knows that each one of them would reach out to her and be there for her. And Tamra then randomly brings up Brian, but she does end up saying that she will never bring it up to Jen ever again, so hopefully she lives up to that. I doubt it, but it wouldn't be Orange County without a tequila shot, so they cheers to that. And they say that they're all actually going to go celebrate at Heather's house, which says a lot that they're able to do that, especially because so many other reunions that we've had lately, like the last Beverly Hills, Potomac, Atlanta, the feuds and the conflict has been so nasty and so combative that the cast doesn't even do that anymore. I'm sure that's the last thing they want to do is see each other after the reunion ends. I remember last time with Beverly Hills, they didn't even take a cast picture. So what it tells you is that in Orange County, at least this season, yeah, they might have had their problems and their fights, but it was never that serious. Orange County, it was all light-hearted drama. And just like that, season 17 is a wrap. I gotta say, very happy that they're only making 2-part reunions lately, because I can't imagine if there would have been a third. That would have been, to be honest, when at the end of this one, I was kind of like having a hard time following along. So I think 2 reunion parts is for the best. But as far as this season, I enjoyed it, especially because the seasons before this, Orange County was literally in the gutter. I think that this season really helped it, and I think that they have some really good potential going forward next season. But as far as next season, I ask you guys, what do you think should happen? Who should come back? Who should not come back? What changes should there be made? And what were your opinions about the overall season? Did you enjoy it? So let me know that. And you guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, I want to thank y'all because we started covering Orange County right from the beginning, and this is the end. So thank you guys for joining me every Wednesday to recap the Real Housewives of Orange County. It's been a great season. And in 2 weeks, Beverly Hills is coming back, so I cannot wait for that. You guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all have a great one. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.